Alex Pereira has revealed why he's pushing for a fight with Jon Jones. While not everyone may be a big fan of the idea of Pereira moving up to heavyweight, the champ sounds all in on the challenge. During a Portuguese-speaking interview on ConnectCast this week, Pereira explained exactly why he has his sights set on fighting Jon Jones next. "I've always talked about this fight, about moving up to heavyweight," Pereira said. "But then I told myself, man, stay in your weight class. I wanted to stay focused on my division. I cared about my health. But now I'm 38, and at the same time, I'm thinking about my career. I believe that's the fight which needs to happen." Even Jon Jones himself had mentioned this fight, and Pereira feels they're both on the same page. "We're both big names," he added. "No matter what happens in this fight, nobody loses." Pereira is fresh off a huge victory over Moem and already has his eyes set on making history as the first three-division champion in UFC history. But that's not the only thing on his radar. The Brazilian powerhouse also confirmed that he plans to compete in boxing someday. "I'm definitely going to box," Pereira said. "I've made it clear that I want to fight in boxing. When I got into kickboxing, they didn't believe in me. When I came into MMA, they said the same thing. And when I moved to boxing, I know they'll doubt me again. I'm used to it. I don't care. I just want to go out there and fight." For Pereira, it's not about chasing money. It's about chasing challenge and proving he can be the best no matter the sport. Whether his legendary power will translate to boxing remains to be seen, but it's worth noting that Pereira already holds a 1-0 professional boxing record with a TKO win back in 2017. The champ clearly isn't slowing down, and his hunger for greatness is only getting stronger. Move on to another news. Daniel Cormier and Chael Sonnen believe Alex Pereira is simply too big for Khamzat. During the latest episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy, both Cormier and Sonnen broke down how a potential matchup between Pereira and Khamzat might play out. And they didn't sound too confident about Khamzat's chances. They pointed directly to Pereira's size and physicality as major factors that could overwhelm Khamzat inside the octagon. Sonnen started by saying that Pereira's sheer size could be the deciding factor. "Geez, Pereira is so big," Sonnen explained. "I do think size matters at a certain point. Khamzat would definitely be a problem in certain positions, but ultimately, Pereira's size. Even if he went down once or twice, that's a huge man to drag to the canvas for 25 straight minutes. I think if you put them as they weigh right now, Pereira would beat him." Cormier agreed, saying it's a tough fight to pick, but size has to be considered. "It's tough to choose between the two," Cormier said. "But man, size has to matter at some point, right? It might not matter when you're jumping from 170 to 185, but when you start jumping 20 pounds between divisions, it's different. When you're talking about a 185-pound guy who walks around at 210, facing a 205-pound guy who walks around at 235 or even 245 on fight night, that's a huge difference. It has to matter." Cormier added that while Khamzat is one of the most dominant grapplers in the sport, facing someone like Pereira is a completely different kind of challenge. Khamzat's pressure, his wrestling, his control, all of that is elite, Cormier said. But Pereira's size, his striking power, and how he carries that frame, that's not something you can just neutralize easily. You can't hold a guy like that down for long. Even if you get him to the mat, he's just too big and too strong. Both analysts made it clear that this fight would be massive in terms of fan interest, but they also made it clear that physically, Pereira has the edge. His frame, his power, and his composure make him a nightmare matchup for anyone moving up in weight. Cormier concluded by saying he couldn't confidently pick a winner, but if size truly matters as much as experience suggests, Pereira might just be too much for Khamzat to handle. Move on to another news. Ilia has officially touched down in Georgia, where he was greeted by hundreds of passionate fans celebrating their hometown hero. The featherweight champion wasted no time connecting with the media, sitting down for an interview that gave major updates on his next move. The conversation quickly went viral, as Ilia dropped several important details about his potential return and who he wants to face next. When asked about the rumors surrounding his next title defense possibly taking place on the first Paramount card in January, Ilia didn't hesitate. He said there's a very high chance that's when fans will see him back inside the octagon. But the biggest headline wasn't about the date, it was about the opponent. Ilia made it crystal clear that he isn't focused on Arman at all. Instead, his sights are firmly set on one man, Paddy Pimblett. He told reporters that Paddy is the fight he wants next, and he didn't even mention Justin Gaethje, even though many analysts believe Gaethje could be the next logical challenger. Ilia's focus seems to be on something bigger than rankings. He's looking for star power, history, and a matchup that will generate massive attention. The rivalry between Ilia and Paddy has been brewing for years, and fans know there's genuine bad blood there. Ilia understands that a fight with Paddy isn't just about defending his belt, it's about making a statement. He knows Paddy brings in eyeballs, and that the hype surrounding this fight would be huge for both men. Some critics argue that Paddy doesn't deserve a title shot yet, but from a business standpoint, this matchup makes sense. Paddy is one of the biggest stars in the UFC, undefeated inside the promotion, and pairing him against an undefeated champion like Ilia would make for an explosive storyline. It's a clash of personalities, fan bases, and fighting styles that could break records. Ilia's confidence, as always, was unshakable. He said he's ready to fight anyone, anywhere, but the Paddy fight excites him more than any other right now. As of now, the January date looks promising, and the MMA world is buzzing about the possibility of Ilia versus Paddy finally becoming a reality. The champion has spoken, and he's clearly ready to make history once again. Move on to another news. Umar Nurmagomedov is said to be under extreme pressure heading into UFC 321. After suffering a broken hand and coming up short against Merab, Umar is now determined to bounce back stronger and reclaim his spot among the top contenders in the bantamweight division. His upcoming fight against Mario Bautista is being described as one of the most crucial bouts of his career. During a recent interview with MMA Junkie, aka head coach Javier Mendez opened up about the immense expectations surrounding Umar's return. "There's extreme pressure on him," Mendez said. "You've got to understand, he carries that famous last name. There's a big honor in that. Usman, his brother, is undefeated. Khabib is undefeated. Umar was undefeated for a long time too. That creates a lot of pressure. He was doing what Khabib was doing at an earlier stage in his career, and people started making comparisons. I used to call him the young eagle. But let's be realistic, there's a lot on his shoulders." Mendez revealed that after his injury and loss, Umar went through both a physical and mental battle. "It wasn't easy," he continued. "It took a lot for him to rebuild. But he's a true fighter, a fierce competitor, and he wants it badly. He showed it to us in his training this week. The kind of sparring I saw from him was unbelievable. That's how I judge my fighters, not on what they say, but on what I see inside that gym. And what I saw from Umar tells me he's ready." Despite the pressure, Umar remains calm and focused. He understands that carrying the Nurmagomedov legacy means living up to high standards, discipline, dominance, and respect. But this time, the comeback means more than just another win. It's about redemption. While Umar is focused on Bautista, Merab has already made it clear that he wants to run things back and secure a more decisive victory in a potential rematch. When asked about it, Umar responded with complete professionalism. "I can't say I won't fight him. I'm not scared or anything like that," he said. "That's not a champion's mindset. He can talk. We'll see what happens." With UFC 321 fast approaching, all eyes are on Umar Nurmagomedov to see if he can handle the immense pressure, silence the critics, and remind the world why the Nurmagomedov name still represents pure dominance inside the octagon. Move on to another news. Khamzat has revealed whose corner he'd be in if a fight between Arman and Ilia ever becomes reality. The Chechen-born star has trained with both fighters at different points in his career, building strong relationships with each of them. However, when pressed to choose sides during a recent interview with Alan Baghdad, Khamzat didn't hesitate to give his honest answer. According to him, if Arman were to reach out and ask for his support, he wouldn't be able to say no. "If Arman asked me to be in his corner, I couldn't refuse," Khamzat said. "I've trained with him before, I know his mindset, and I know how hard he works. He's a warrior. He always shows up ready to fight." Khamzat went on to explain that both Arman and Ilia are elite-level athletes, and he has nothing but respect for what they've accomplished. Still, his connection with Arman runs deeper because of their shared training history and mutual respect inside the gym. Ilia is a great fighter, no doubt, Khamzat continued. He's the champ for a reason, but Arman is like a brother to me. We've pushed each other in training, and I've seen his potential up close. He's hungry, and he's ready for anyone. The idea of Arman facing Ilia has been gaining traction in the MMA world, especially after Ilia's dominant title run. Fans have been speculating how Arman's relentless wrestling and pace would match up against Ilia's sharp boxing and knockout power. If that fight happens, it would easily be one of the most anticipated matchups in the lightweight or featherweight divisions. As for Khamzat, his loyalty is clear. While he continues his own pursuit of UFC gold, he's made it known that he'll always stand by those who've shared the grind with him in training. It's not about choosing sides for drama, he said. It's about respect and brotherhood. So if Arman and Ilia ever step into the octagon against each other, fans already know whose corner Khamzat will be standing in, cheering on his brother in battle. Move on to another news. Alex Pereira has found himself in hot water with the Russian MMA community after shocking accusations surfaced online. In a recent interview with Magomed-Ankalev's close friend and ACA fighter Ramazan Amiev, serious claims were made suggesting that Pereira's team might have had spies inside Ankalev's camp before their fight. The story quickly spread across Russian media, sparking heated debates and major controversy within the MMA world. Speaking to the Russian outlet Ushatka, Amiev first gave an emotional update on Ankalev's mental state after losing the title to Pereira. He revealed that Magomed has been struggling heavily since the defeat, saying he feels completely empty, barely smiles, and constantly looks stressed. The loss, according to Amiev, hit him much harder than most people realize. He described Ankalaev as being mentally exhausted and trying to come to terms with what went wrong during that fight. But the interview took a shocking turn when the host asked whether there might have been a mole inside Ankalaev's training camp, leaking crucial information to Pereira's team. Amiev didn't deny the possibility. His response was vague, yet powerful enough to ignite the internet. Russian fans immediately began dissecting every word, claiming it hinted at something suspicious behind Pereira's victory. Within hours, the story was trending across MMA forums and social media platforms. Critics started accusing Pereira of gaining an unfair advantage, with some fans even labeling his win controversial. They argued that Ankalaev entered the fight both injured and mentally drained, while Pereira supposedly benefited from knowing key details about his opponent's preparation. However, it's also worth noting that Pereira himself fought through serious injuries. The Brazilian powerhouse reportedly broke his foot during the rematch with Ankalaev, an injury that could keep him sidelined for several months. Early reports suggest that he might return around June, potentially for the highly anticipated White House event. As of now, Pereira has not publicly responded to the accusations, but the story continues to grow. Fans are divided, some defending Pereira as a true warrior who simply did his job, while others question whether the victory was as clean as it appeared. One thing's for sure though, this controversy has added even more fire to one of the most talked about rivalries in MMA today. Move on to another news. It looks like Khamzat could be fighting RDR next. After the withdrawal of Anthony Hernandez from this weekend's UFC Vancouver card, many fans assumed that Nasruddin Imavov would end up getting the next crack at the middleweight title. Despite that, there's been no official word from the UFC regarding Khamzat's first title defense. And according to RDR, that's because a win this weekend could put him next in line for the championship opportunity. During his media day appearance on Wednesday, RDR confidently stated, "Yeah, Imavov is not getting the shot. That's why they haven't announced it." He made it clear that everything depends on his performance against Brendan Allen this weekend. If he wins, and wins impressively, he believes the UFC won't have a choice but to give him the next shot at Khamzat's belt. While RDR still has to handle business against Allen, Joe Rogan believes he's destined to give Khamzat his toughest fight yet. After Khamzat captured the title at UFC 319, Rogan broke down exactly why RDR could be such a dangerous matchup. According to Rogan, RDR's mix of elite grappling and striking versatility makes him a serious problem. He can dominate on the ground, but what truly sets him apart is his ability to transition seamlessly into striking exchanges. Rogan described RDR's signature move, that long, hard, slicing lead knee, as nasty and incredibly effective against opponents who try to pressure him. He praised RDR's toughness, his composure under fire, and his experience against world-class competition. In Rogan's words, RDR is interesting because he brings an unpredictable style that could force Khamzat into deep waters. Meanwhile, Imavov recently picked up a unanimous decision win over Boralho, but that victory might not be enough to secure a title shot. The UFC seems to be waiting for this weekend's result before making any announcements. If RDR delivers a highlight reel finish against Brendan Allen, something that grabs fans' attention, it could guarantee him the next title fight with Khamzat. There's a lot of anticipation surrounding RDR's performance. He's confident, he's focused, and he's ready to prove that he belongs at the very top of the division. A dominant showing this weekend could set up one of the most intriguing and technical middleweight title fights we've seen in years. Khamzat versus RDR.